If you're still using pen and paper to plan for your exams, stop it.
Stop it. Get some help.
Because I'm going to show you how to plan using Excel, which can show when you have to start a subject and end a subject. It also shows your progress in how much you have completed your subjects in real time.
Let's go.
To do this, there are a total of 6 steps. The first step is to find the number of hours left for you to study. The second step is to decide how much percentage you are going to give to each subject area in each subject. The third step is to allocate the total number of hours you have in each subject to the subject areas. The fourth step is to create the timeline, when to start and end a subject. The fifth step is to create the subject tracking sheet for each subject. The sixth step is to create real-time progress sheet using the fifth step. Now let's see how to do this. For each step, first I will be explaining it with an empty format like this, and then I will also be explaining it with a sample plan like this, so it will be more clear for you when you are creating your own plan. In the step 1, you have to identify the number of hours left for you to study by deciding the number of hours you'll be studying per day. So you have to enter all these details, the date today, the date of exam. With that you can find the number of days and then subsequently number of months, and after that you have to decide for the revision months and calculate the net time for completing the subjects. After that you have to find the number of hours left. In this step 1, what you have to do is finally arrive at this number of hours left for you to complete your syllabus. So to arrive at this, first you need to calculate the number of days you are having, and then you have to minus it with the revision months that you need for the exam. After you have done that, write your date of exam. For today's date, I have used today formula, which will give you the date today. So you don't need to update it daily. After that, find the number of days by minusing these two dates, and then you find the number of months and then decide the number of revision months that you need to do. After that you find the net time for completing the subject, and if you multiply the net time with 30 days you get the number of days. After that you multiply it with the number of hours per day, then you get the total number of hours left. So subsequently you will be able to find the total number of hours left to complete your syllabus. Now let's move on to the next step. In the next step, you have to divide your subject by subject areas. So in a subject, you will be spending the time on these subject areas, and you have to allocate the time in the given percentage which you need to choose. In this step, you have to decide the percentage of time that you will be spending in these areas for each subject. I am going to allocate the total number of hours for each subject in this ratio for these subject areas. As you know, for each subject, you are going to spend your time for classes, notes, tests or study. So I have given the most percentage to classes, as you will be spending more time on classes, and then I have spread the time to these subject areas in the following percentages. You can change this as your requirement, as how you need it. Now let's move on to the next step. In the next step, you have to allocate the time for each subject. So for this, first you have to decide how much hours are you going to spend in each subject. After you have done that, you need to allocate the total hours for each subject to their subject areas. In this step, you have to allocate the total number of hours to each of these subject areas. For that, first identify how much hours you are going to spend on each of the subjects. So once you have decided that, allocate the total number of hours for each subject to the subject areas in the percentage which you decided in the previous step. So it was 53, 16, 10 and 21, and then I have allocated for each subject areas in that ratio from the total hours. I have done the same for all the subjects. And after that, you have this total column to find the total number of hours that you will be spending in total for completing your syllabus. So you must always ensure that this number is less than the total number of hours left, so that you can ensure that you are completing the syllabus within the given time. So let's go to the next step. Step 4. In this step, you have to identify when you are going to start a subject and end a subject for all the subjects. In this step, you have to identify the timeline for your syllabus, which means you have to identify the start date and the end date for each subject. So how do you do this? So first, you have to use the today formula again and find today's date, so that you don't have to update it every day. Now, to find the total number of days the subject will take, you have to divide the total number of hours for that subject by the hours per day. So if you do that, you will find how much days you need to complete this subject. And if you add the start date to it, you will get the end date. So if you're starting on 28th August and then you add the number of days it takes to complete subject 1, you will get the end date, and that is 17th September 2023. you do the same for the remaining subjects. For the second subject, the start is the end of the previous subject. So I have taken the start of the second subject as the end of the previous subject. So you can copy the same formulas for the remaining subjects, and then you will find before when you can complete the whole syllabus. And with this, you can also identify the timeline for your subjects, when to start and end your subject. Let's go to the next step. Step 5. In this step, you are dividing the total number of hours for each subject by chapter, so that you know how much hours there is left for each chapter. In this step, you are going to divide the total number of hours in each subject area for each subject to their chapters. We need to do this step in order to aid for the next step, that is step 6. So what you have to do is you have to see the total number of hours for each subject area in the subject, and then divide that with the total number of chapters. And by doing that, you will be able to divide the total number of time to each of this chapter under each subject area. I have given everything equal weightage, but you can also do it manually by deciding the number of hours for each chapter separately. But since that is a very time consuming process, I have just given equal weightage to all the chapters, and I have divided the time equally for all of them. And this is just for subject 1. You need to do this for all the subjects that you are going to study. So in this case there are 5 subjects, and I have done the same for 5 subjects. So if you see here, the total at the end of each subject tracking must be equal to the total number of hours for that subject. So here it's 180, and here also it's 180. Similarly, it must be the same for all the subjects also. This is a place where you will be updating your progress in real time. So for example, if you have completed the class of chapter 2, you have to update this time to be 0 in case you have completed the full class. And for any of these, if you have completed partially, then you have to update these hours with the total remaining hours for that subject area for that chapter. For example, if I have completed 2 hours of study for chapter 1, which means I have to update this to 1.8, because that is the number of hours remaining for study under chapter 1. And based on this total number of hours remaining, the step 6 is going to get affected, because only on the basis of step 5, step 6 is going to be effective. So make sure you do this properly. In step 6, you need to create the progress card. This is the place where you will find how much progress you have made so far. So this column will give you the percentage that you have completed, and this other columns will give you the number of hours left in each subject area for each of these subjects. In this step, we are going to find out how much hours is remaining for each subject under each subject area. For that, we are going to use the table which we created in step 5. In step 5, since these columns show the total number of hours left under each subject area, we are going to take this as a cell reference for these columns right here. So if you see, we have given P16, that is this cell, as is the reference for it. So if this gets updated, the same will also come here, and this is the cell reference as these things. So if you update any progress here, for example, if you have completed the class of chapter 2 and you give it as 0 since you have completed it, the total here will get changed and the same total will come here. So at the end of the day, when you check, you will be able to know how much hours is remaining in subject 1 for class. So that is the main advantage of this. So I am turning it back. So you have to do the same for all the subjects. So for subject 2, this will come here. So you need to do the same for all the 5 subjects, so that you know how much hours is remaining for each subject area. This percentage gives you the percentage completed, and this is the total number of hours remaining under each subject, and this is the grand total. To find the percentage, this is the formula that I have used. You need to minus the total hours remaining from the total hours divided by the total hours to find the percentage that you have completed. As you can see the formula here, you can just use this when you are doing this too. If you have any doubts about the formulas in each cell, then you can always look up to this formula bar right here to know what formula I have used. If you have any doubts regarding this when you are creating your plan, you can always comment down in the comment box, so I will be able to help you with that. All is fine, but you may ask, why? It is because in Excel, you don't need to worry about updating the plan every time. Excel does the job for you. It automatically updates the planning system. You just have to update it with the progress that you have made each day. It makes your work a lot easier. So, what are you waiting for? Go and plan for your exams using this method and prepare more effectively for your exams. All the best. Do your exams well.